kind of bananas that there hasn't been a feudal Japanese Assassin's Creed game.
Oh, it's wild.
Yeah, you kind of look at like global history and you're like, oh, what archetype haven't we done? The one that uses like swords?
Yeah,
like, explicitly.
do people like swords? Do we use those?
Ninja stars? Yeah. I'm probably the biggest Dragon Ball fan in these contiguous United States.
That's a big claim, by the way. I don't know if you've met your fellow Dragon Ball fans, but them's our fighting words.
I've met some, and I'm bigger. Hi, I'm Sam Stone, and this is Power Up, presented by Razer. You know, 2024 has had a lot of great games, but the year isn't over yet, and maybe, just maybe, 2024 saved the best for last with some of its biggest games. So we're going to talk about our most anticipated games yet to come. That could be fall releases, that could be holiday season hits. We're talking indies, we're talking major studio releases, we're talking remakes, we're talking established franchises. There's a lot to go over. So let's sit back, plug in, and power up. 2024 has been a fantastic year for gaming, and the year isn't over yet. We've got a lot of months and a lot of games yet to come. Here I am with Den of Geek games editor Matthew Bird to talk all about it. Matt, thanks for coming on the show. How are you?
I'm fantastic, but the better question is, how the hell are you?
Incredible. Just like unbelievably excited about talking about our favorite games in this countdown.
It's going to be incredible. I can't wait.
Well, and let's talk about our first entry in this countdown. Number 10, Dragon Age, the Veilguard. I mean, BioWare's been working on this game for a long time, and we're finally getting, you know, it's coming. It has a release date. It's coming out on Halloween.
Oh my God.
I know. Celebrate Halloween. That's the ultimate trick and treat.
I'm very excited for Dragon Age. BioWare is in a strange spot, their post-Anthem spot. There's a lot of questions about the state of the studio, picking up this legacy franchise from a real golden age for the company, and what direction they're going to take it in. But I think in some ways, and we're going to mention this with a few of the games we're going to talk about in this episode. In some ways, I think some of that unpredictability is exciting. You know, I do think they have a chance to not just resurrect this franchise and not just deliver a great RPG, but make something that is very much representative of who they are now as a studio and where gaming is now, that could be incredibly exciting on its own and really fit into the modern industry in a way that even those classic games necessarily do not.
Here's a question, and this is something that has happened since this project was first announced. Where do you think a Dragon Age game fits in a post-Baldur's Gate 3 world?
It's tough. Here's the thing, though. Dragon Age is, and this is a bad word to some, it is more accessible compared to Baldur's Gate 3. There is some more action. There is more of a strictly cinematic kind of nature to it, at least historically. We'll see where this one picks up. There's certainly an appeal to just hopping into a beautiful fantasy world, tons of characters, tons of classes, tons of equipment, and, that classic BioWare formula. Now, in a modified way, it's a new era for the studio, it's new creators, it's a new era for gaming. But I just think the ability to just hop back in that world, pick up and play, and just enjoy that kind of role-playing experience, it's not as common as you might think it would be. And while Baldur's Gate 3 did set new standards, I think that Veilguard can carve a little niche for itself.
Yeah. I didn't mind Inquisition. I'm kind of surprised there was this long of a turnaround between, frankly, I didn't mind Dragon Age 2, but I was surprised there was this long of a turnaround between Dragon Age projects.
By all accounts, though, a massive game. It's going to be really interesting to see. A lot of work went into this one, and we're going to see if it pays off. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. Our next entry is another role-playing game, but a very different kind of role-playing game.
Oh, yes.
Number 9, Mario and Luigi, Brothership.
Great name.
Yeah. If you're a Mario RPG fan, be it, Legend of the Seven Stars, Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door, and now, of course, Mario and Luigi, you've been eating good the past year, man.
It's been surprising, yeah. Because it comes in waves, it feels like, with those Mario RPGs, except for maybe the Paper Mario series has been a little more consistent, but it comes in waves. But Mario and Luigi is my favorite of these spin-off RPG series. And, like you said, much different RPG than the Veilguard, but similar in the sense of it is a new developer this time. It's the first time we've also seen the series go into full 3D. There are a lot of changes, but based on what I've seen of this one so far, it has what any good Mario and Luigi game should have, which is ton of personality, ton of comedy, lots of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the humor, and especially when it comes to Luigi, is something that's been key with that franchise the past several years.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what a Mario Luigi game, because it's been a minute since we've
It has. It's shocking when you look at it because obviously, now some games are better than others, some did well better than others, everything like that. But when you really look at the franchise as a whole, quality, just hit after hit, and a lot of them trying and succeeding in a lot of different ideas, which is what we're seeing in Brothership, obviously, another trend that this entry will continue, striving for something different, but just a testament to the Nintendo standard that series has gone through so many different ideas, so many different eras, and has remained exceptional. So I'm optimistic Brothership is going to join those ranks.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Our next entry is something that's also, it's an established franchise that's also trying something different. Number 8, Assassin's Creed Shadows. So, this is, if you take away the armchair historians or historical experts, and I really put an emphasis on those apostrophes or colons, but it's, I feel like Assassin's Creed needs to reinvent itself a little bit because we know what the formula is at this point. I always like Assassin's Creed, particularly later Assassin's Creed games, when they break from the norm, i.e. Black Flag, leaning hard into the pirate aspect from 3. But yeah, I mean, what do you think of Shadows?
Well, I'm with you to a degree. I think Assassin's Creed had a successful reboot several years ago, or a soft reboot as it went more of an RPG kind of open world direction. And those games have been fun, but look, there's no getting around it. For a lot of people, this is the dream Assassin's Creed game. I feel like ever since the series started, or ever since we realized it was going to become a franchise, it was going to visit multiple time periods, people have wanted to go back to feudal Japan. People have wanted that samurai experience. Now, since then, different experiences, but we've had games like Ghost of Tsushima, that have kind of delivered upon that dream to a degree. So there's some of those expectations kind of built into this. But I really think that when you look at, through some minor ups and downs of where Assassin's Creed is now, there are certain things they nail, and one of the things they do nail is the feeling of a time and place, even if it is slightly exaggerated, as it should be in an Assassin's Creed game. I think just, again, the ability to drop in that time period in the Assassin's Creed style is half the appeal of this game, and it's a big draw.
It is. It's kind of bananas that there hasn't been a feudal Japanese Assassin's Creed game.
Oh, it's wild.
Yeah, you kind of look at global history and you're like, oh, what archetype haven't we done? The one that uses swords?
Yeah. Do people like swords? Do we use those? Yeah.
Ninja stars?
Stealth? Are we stealth? Do people like stealth?
Yeah, they're ninjas. Are they a thing? So yeah, I'm looking forward to Assassin's Creed. I'm hoping that it takes the franchise to new heights. The revival of another kind of classic franchise. Our next entry, number 7. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I got a chance to play Sparking Zero at Summer Game Fest this past June. It's a revival of the Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi series that was really cool on the PS2 and the Wii and all that kind of stuff. I love Dragon Ball. I'm probably the biggest Dragon Ball fan in these contiguous United States.
That's a big claim, by the way. I don't know if you met your fellow Dragon Ball fans, but them's our fighting words.
I've met some, and I'm bigger.
So I'm on the opposite end of the desk, and I'm on the opposite end of this topic with you, because I'm not the biggest Dragon Ball fan in the world, to be honest with you. But I have felt like over the years, the Dragon Ball fighting games have been my gateway into this franchise, because at least from my perspective, I feel like there's a degree to which they kind of emphasize the things that draw me most of the franchise. Incredible roster of characters, just over-the-top moves, and the whole thing, all these games just look stunningly beautiful.
Yeah, I think, it was really starting with Budokai Tenkaichi, or not Budokai Tenkaichi, but just Budokai 2 for the PS2, is when they started to switch to cel-shaded animation, and they're like, oh, this looks like the anime.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, and they've kind of continued that to varying degrees moving forward. The game looks gorgeous, an over-the-shoulder fighting game. There's so many different paths, alternate paths you can go in story mode, like, oh, what if Goku didn't work with Piccolo to fight Raditz at the beginning of the series? What if Goku beat Raditz in the opening fight, stuff like that. That just like.
Did you enjoy the over-the-shoulder perspective and with your time in the game?
It took for this game, yes, because I was used to it. Coming off the more traditional 3D fighters, it took me a little time to get used to it. But having done it for a while and played it with like Raging Blast and stuff, I was like, oh, this is like. I really do enjoy this quite a bit.
And we've seen some great fighters recently too, so it's got some competition, but I mean, I think it can measure up.
I do, and I think it's its own thing. Like it's hard to compare Sparking Zero to like Tekken or Street Fighter. It's like, okay, all right. The next game we've got is another big franchise and another like Dragon Age.
It's a theme for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's been on like Dragon Age has been on ice for a while. Number 6, Silent Hill 2 remake. So. I think the Silent Hill franchise has kind of been under the shadow of PT and Silent Hills for the better part of, a full decade now.
And of course, we have nobody to blame for that whatsoever. It's just one of those things that happened totally organically. Nothing strange happened whatsoever to PT.
Yeah. Nothing's been scrubbed.
Nothing's been scrubbed from the internet.
Of course not.
No, just one of those things.
But you know what? For all the stuff that surrounded that, I just want to see Silent Hill again. I want to see... there's part of me that wants to see a brand new Silent Hill as opposed to a remake, but those Resident Evil remakes that Capcom's been doing is like, oh, let's see what Konami can do in that space. And then, we're getting a remake of Silent Hill 2, which is arguably the greatest of the Silent Hill series.
Well, I'm with you on that 100%. And also I'm with you in general on just wanting to see more Silent Hill. And look, there's no getting around it. It's a perilous project. Some consider it a poison project, not just because of the baggage of the franchise, but it's one of the greatest horror games of all time. It's more than that. It's often used as like Exhibit A in the games' art. It is the original Silent Hill is a transcendent, beautiful, complex experience, has been dissected ever since its release, and I don't even think we've really gotten to the bottom of all the things it does and tries to do. Yeah. And now you want to remake that. And you know what, though? It's going to be tough. But I do think that this game has the chance to hopefully bring that experience to a modern age and a new audience that can appreciate it in a way that maybe didn't get the chance to before, hopefully put its own tweaks on it, and hopefully retain enough of what really made the original Silent Hill 2 special, while leaving a lasting impression that gives this series something to build off of in the future. Because I'll even go to bat for some of the lesser Silent Hill games. I don't think this is going to be one, but there is a special something about this franchise, and I really am rooting for this one because I want to see more of it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be on this list, and certainly as high on this list. I mean, we're rooting for Silent Hill 2 at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And speaking of this list, I mean, I think now is a good time to take a quick break for a quick message from our sponsor, Razer. Razer Cortex is already one of the most versatile, accessible, and convenient programs you can use to enhance your PC gaming experience. But you know what? There's a lot of features to that program, some of which you guys might not know about. Let's go over some of my personal favorites so you can start using them too. You may already know that Razer Cortex enhances and improves your technical performance and frame rate as you're playing your games. But what you might not know is that the Booster Prime feature within Cortex predicts frame rate performance before you even launch the game and lets you toggle it, just so you can optimize your gaming experience for each and every title you play through Cortex. Every game comes with its own community, its own fan base, and a lot of them come with their own Discord servers. The cool thing about Razer Cortex, it helps you discover those Discord servers. So if you're looking to break into a community, find fellow fans of some of your favorite games, well, Cortex has got you covered. So many PC games these days have their own in-game events, and a lot of them are timed. That's where Razer Cortex comes in. They have overlays that let you see countdowns for upcoming in-game events and ongoing in-game events just to make sure that you can get the most from all these little timed specials that each of your favorite titles have. All the biggest games come with a whole wealth of online material. It could be your favorite streamers, it could be guides, it could be websites straight from the developers. Cool thing about Razer Cortex lets you add links to the game page, so one handy dandy location, one click away, you can access those guides yourself and level up. With so many different gaming platforms, so many different sales, so many different free games, it can get hard to track. Well, Razer Cortex can do all that tracking for you. It can track sales across different platforms. You can set up alerts for your favorite titles, favorite genres, favorite publishers, and Razer Cortex has its own reward system. So playing some of your favorite games, well, you might get rewards for it just for playing it through Razer Cortex. When you're gaming on a PC, the level of customization is bananas, and Razer Cortex takes that to a whole nother level. There's a whole set of unique icons, backgrounds that you can apply to your gaming library and gaming experience. So make that game your own. If you're like me, you want to see exactly how long you've put into a game and how well you've been doing, your trends, all sorts of stats. The cool thing about Razer Cortex, you can track all of that with its custom game summary, offering you in-game stats that you might not necessarily get through other major in-game launchers. So much PC gaming these days is shared online, either through capturing in-game footage and images or just streaming. The great thing about Razer Cortex, you can map hotkeys to make streaming or capturing some of your greatest moments and sharing them, well, just one button away. While we've already gone over a lot of the customization options that Razer Cortex brings to the table, their Booster Prime feature, well, that goes even one step further. So with select titles, you can go in and you can toggle the brightness, the hue, the color, the lighting, so you can really get some of those games to visually pop just like you want them to look. These are just some of my personal favorite features within Razer Cortex. There are tons of things you can do to level up your game with this program. And remember, you don't have to run Razer Cortex on Razer devices. It works on any Windows-compatible PC or Android device. So improve your game with Razer Cortex. Thank you to Razer for sponsoring this episode. And now, back to the show. Now here we are on the top half of this list, like really kind of like getting into the games that we're really looking forward to the most for the rest of the year. Number 5, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. I mean, the level of ambition for this project has got me so excited. Yeah.
Well, it's the ambition, but also, as we've talked about with a few of these games, it's the throwback. It's not just a sequel to Space Marine. This game is essentially kind of a throwback to a strange era of action games that went away too quickly, which is heavy metal, third-person, hack and slash, run and gun, big monsters, big armor. You know, it's like there is, you know, I'm not saying this is the most subtle exploration of the rich and vast Warhammer 40K universe, but you know what? I'm perfectly glad with that. The Space Marine games, I'm expecting the same as Space Marine 2, even though it looks better in every respect. They just give you something on a level, AA, AAA, call it what you will, that you just can't find as often as you'd like to in modern gaming. That's just that pure, incredible action experience.
Yeah, in the Space Marine games, at least in the case of the first one, you don't have to be an expert on Warhammer lore. You can just like jump in. I mean, it helps. It enhances the experience. Yeah. You jump in there, and the lore is certainly there. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just a great sci-fi shooter in the sense that, I mean, it's been 4 years since we've gotten Doom Eternal, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So it scratches that itch.
Yeah, no, really it is. But you mentioned Doom Eternal. I'll throw 2016 Doom in there as well. And it's like these games are incredible, but, you know, we don't always... there haven't been a lot of games from our studios that have really stepped in to fill that kind of same void in the same way. It's shocking, but it's true. You know, we have a lot of great indie action titles. We have a lot of great action titles in other kind of fields. But yes, this kind of action experience, oh my God, I can't wait. I really think that at the end of the day, this might be the game I just had the most fun with at the end of the year.
In terms of like, we're about to talk about a very different kind of first-person shooter coming up. You know, number 4 is another game that has storied history behind its development, which is to say Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. That was also at Summer Game Fest. It was a popular choice, and it looks atmospheric as all hell.
Oh my God. Well, what a rough road for this game. And it's really a story and an epic unto itself, this game's road to release. But we are, fingers crossed, nearing it, finally. Look, the Stalker franchise, if we go off the original game and what we've seen of Stalker 2, it just offers something that's so hard to find anywhere else. And that is a first-person horror experience that isn't about using just your perspective to facilitate a jump scare or something like that. And don't get me wrong, I love a lot of those games. But a first-person horror game that really lets you live within that thick atmosphere of dread that's like thicker than the radiation in the air. You know, that's something that Stalker gives that's generally hard to come by. And based on what I've seen of Stalker 2, I mean, it really just feels like that unique kind of horror survival experience that a lot of games over the years have aimed for and always fallen short of in some way. I think it feels like the one that could finally hit the mark in a big way.
I think, we were talking about Space Marine 2, and that game's all release. Stalker 2 is all tension.
Yeah.
And it's about kind of like, you aren't necessarily looking for a fight in Stalker 2, whereas in Space Marine 2, you're like, let's blow away some more enemies.
What a great 1-2 combo, by the way, if you're really looking for some diverging interests and tastes. But it is about the tension. It is about that build. And, for some, we see as across horror gaming, it's going to be too much. But you know what? That's actually kind of a testament to how well made this game looks like it is.
I think it delivers on the horror more than, like, say, the Fear sequels did, because Fear kind of moved away, like Dead Space, to a more actiony.
Fear, even Metro, somewhat to a degree, moving a little more to that action side, where this is just steeped in fear. It's intimidating, but you know what? You need that style of horror. You need that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, pure, unfiltered horror. And I think that in its own way of what it's trying to do, with some accommodations, made, obviously, I think it's going to deliver an incredible version of that experience.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Next up is another Konami remake, another revival of one of their biggest gaming franchises. Number 3, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. There's a lot of, just like Silent Hill 2 remake, there's a lot of expectation writing on this one.
The parallels are fascinating. Yes, it is going to be very interesting. Metal Gear Solid 3 is my favorite Metal Gear Solid game, which is weird to me to say, because when I played the first Metal Gear Solid, I thought that was just going to be the greatest game ever made, which, hey, you know what, it's in that conversation. But Metal Gear Solid 3, it has all that incredible cinematic presentation. It has all of the great bosses, the incredible music. I can't wait to climb that ladder again while Snake Eater blares through the speakers. It has all those things. But I felt, compared to many of the other Metal Gear Solid games, it's so much fun to play. And I think if this remake has a chance to shine, I don't want to say outshine, that's too much. If it has a chance to shine somewhere specifically, a few little tweaks here and there to even make that gameplay experience just a little better could really help this one set itself apart.
You gave Metal Gear Solid 1 and 3 the shout out, and I agree, 3's my favorite. You didn't mention 2 or 4.
Well, 2 and 4 we may have to discuss on another episode. Actually, I'm sorry, we can't discuss 2 and 4 until a 40-minute cutscene has ended.
But you have to press X.
Yeah,
or
you gotta,
R2.
you gotta skip through the codex a little bit, obviously. Another discussion for another day. I do not wish to bury any Metal Gear game right now because I love the franchise, even the spin-offs and the remakes. We're both Twin Snakes fans, even.
Oh yeah.
No, but that's the thing. When you look at this franchise whole, and listen, the Kojima factor, it's a big deal, right? Yes. It is. There's no getting around it. But when you just look at this franchise as a whole, it's going to be fantastic to get back into it. And I think they do have the chance to. I just want to see this game paid the proper respect. And from what I've seen of it, it seems to be on that track. And I'm really looking forward to see if it gets there.
I think so, too. I think they know almost more so than Silent Hill 2 how much is riding on it. The level of detail I've seen, the ability to reapply the old filters, the original voice cast coming back to record new lines, in addition to archival audio. This is going to be... if maybe we'll get an entire revival of an entire line of remakes coming from Snake Eater.
It's fascinating. There are 2 of these perilous remakes coming out this year from Konami, and I'm looking forward to both, no matter what happens.
Definitely. In terms of like continuations, The Legend of Zelda is going somewhere that they haven't really gone since maybe the Philips CDI, which is to say, we're getting a new Zelda game this year where you play as Princess Zelda with number 2, The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to, playing as Zelda, manifesting chairs and, giving them the old WWE smack across, enemy heads.
How fantastic would it be if we got a WWE game with like a magician gimmick where you could just conjure chairs and steal steps out of the air?
Yeah. I'm waiting for that NXT Pro to come up and play in the majors.
Release the license, you cowards.
But in terms of Echoes of Wisdom, it reminds me, the animation style or presentation reminds me of the awesome Link's Awakening remake that came out a few years ago on the Switch. How about you, Matt? What do you think of Echoes?
Well, the marquee feature is obviously the ability to finally play as Princess Zelda in a mainline Zelda game. There was obviously a notable exception once upon a time. But no, that's the marquee feature, and I think that deserves a lot of credit because it is about time we finally got a Zelda game. But for me, it's less about the ability to play Princess Zelda. It's more about Nintendo releasing a slightly more classically styled Zelda game for the Switch. Link's Awakening remake aside, I really worried when Switch came out and Breath of the Wild was the blockbuster it was right away, and we weren't getting any more standalone handhelds. We were also going to lose out on those smaller but totally worthwhile handheld style Legend of Zelda experiences. And this reminds me of that, but with a few concessions and a few ideas that borrow some of the best concepts from games like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, the creation mechanics, the elaborate puzzle solving, etc., and incorporates them into that world. So if everything goes according to plan, I mean, is this the dream Zelda game that combines the best of those worlds?
I hope so. I mean, they've worked on the franchise long enough. I'm just surprised. When's the last time that we got 2 consecutive years with new Zelda titles?
I'm literally watching the sky to make sure the moon's not about to crash because it feels like the end times that we're getting this much Zelda in such a short time period.
Yeah, make the most out of those 3 days and 3 nights and get your ocarina and play the Song of Time. Yeah.
Were you ever inspired to learn the ocarina after that? Where you're like, hey, ocarina is a real cool instrument for real cool guys?
I'm not saying that I own a ceramic ocarina modeled after the Ocarina of Time, but maybe, just maybe, I own a ceramic ocarina modeled after the Ocarina of Time.
And so, maybe it's functional, and maybe
it's functional, but that doesn't mean I'm good at it.
Yes. Well, there are very few ocarina virtuosos these days.
It's a niche market that I think I can take care of.
Hey, it's not too late. You're already the world's biggest Dragon Ball fan, but no, listen. I think I really am just so excited for this one, and also just it's a testament to the Zelda character that if she can star in the game that kind of leads a mini franchise revolution and gets us more of those classically styled Zelda games for the Switch 2 or come what may, then she really is going to be the hero Hyrule needs.
Yes, but not the one it deserves right now.
No.
But we've got one left, and it's a biggie.
It's our number one.
It is our number one, by definition. Number one is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Yes.
And I hope this game comes out this year. I don't think they're going to put out a subpar version of this, so they're going to take all the time they need to make sure it's the best possible Indiana Jones game that they can make.
Yeah, and some of these games that I'm looking forward to, they do come with slight asterisks. I'm still looking forward to them regardless. This is the one where, as long as it's released this year, I'm telling you, I really don't see how you go wrong with this one. MachineGames is one of the best developers in the world. Not just one of the best developers in the world, but excel at making this exact kind of action, adventure, cinematic, first-person, punch-and-shoot a Nazi experience a modern Indiana Jones game should be. And do you know it's been almost, or maybe even a little more than 20 years since we've really gotten a full 3D action-adventure Indiana Jones game?
I mean, we had Staff of Kings on the Wii, but we don't talk about that one.
Yeah, fair point.
That one's
yes.
not like the other children. But I've been playing Indiana Jones games since Fate of Atlantis on the PC. I've been playing, I still have my copies of Infernal Machine and Emperor's Tomb and Greatest Hits or Greatest Adventures on the Super Nintendo. I even have Young Indiana Jones on the Sega Genesis. I should have brought my copy.
Is that any good? I never tried that one.
Another one that's
well,
not like
okay, that's fair enough. Yes.
How do you feel about a first-person Indiana Jones game?
I'm okay with it. It was an adjustment. Listen, I would rather MachineGames stay within their comfort zone, for lack of a better word, their wheelhouse with this, and focus on the everything else, because I do think that's what matters most. And, in the last time since we got a proper Indiana Jones game of this size, we've seen Tomb Raider get an exceptional reboot. We've seen Uncharted become a blockbuster franchise. All these franchises, which as great as they are, they do owe some homage to Indiana Jones. And at the end of the day, I think the thing they're focusing on most is that Indiana Jones experience. The soundtrack is right. I love the way the character looks. I especially love that, unlike the movies, the more recent movies, they're not beholden to, I brought my own wardrobe, Harrison Ford, doing his, listen, and I love this era of Harrison Ford. I love me some grumpy Ford. Yeah. But if you're going to do an Indiana Jones game, go back and do what they did, which is we're going to go back in time between Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade, have that Indiana Jones in his prime, and just really deliver that experience. I really think this could be like the missing Indiana Jones movie people were hoping the Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny were, and ultimately kind of weren't.
Yeah. As much as I enjoy those films on their own merits, I mean, we haven't seen Indy in his prime for a long time, and now we finally get to, play it out. And like I say, they're not going to put out a subpar product. They know how much expectation is running on
Yeah,
this.
I don't think they have it in them to put out anything subpar, and I think they've exhibited a lot of respect for this franchise, and more than that, a lot of enthusiasm for this franchise. And I think that enthusiasm is going to be contagious. I think we've seen it in the preview material so far, and I think it's going to carry over to what's shaping up to be just an incredible final product that could honestly steal the Game of the Year awards this year.
Yeah, hopefully, get it before the end of 2024. I mean, that's the point of the list.
Well, hey, listen, all release dates are subject to change. We are being optimistic as we can be, but yeah, no, it is shaping up to be an incredible finale to what has been a strange but productive year for games.
Thanks again for coming on, Matt.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
Special thanks to Razer for sponsoring today's episode. And thanks again to Matt for sitting down with me and speaking about our most anticipated games yet to come out in 2024. If you got a favorite game that's yet to come out this year that we didn't mention, or maybe one of the ones that I mentioned, be sure to list it in the comments below. Again, I'm Sam Stone, this is Power Up, and we'll see you next time.